Teddy Atlas, the legendary boxing trainer and analyst whose voice has become synonymous with the sport's most insightful commentary, delivered a masterclass in fight analysis following Naoya Inoue's latest virtuoso performance against Ramon Cardenas, spending nearly 30 minutes dissecting with surgical precision what he called perhaps the most complete display of pugilistic excellence I've witnessed in this generation. A statement carrying immense weight coming from a man who has trained world champions and analyzed tens of thousands of rounds over his 5-decade career in the sweet science. Atlas began his breakdown by emphasizing how Inoue's performance transcended mere physical dominance, evolving into something approaching high art where every step, every feint, every punch thrown represented a brushstroke in what ultimately became a masterpiece of controlled violence, with the Japanese phenom demonstrating not just superiority in speed and power but exhibiting what Atlas described as a spatial awareness and geometric understanding of the ring that would make Uklit proud, mode simultaneously creating angles of attack that defied conventional boxing wisdom, all executed with such fluidity and precision that even veteran fight observers found themselves rewinding footage to fully comprehend the layers of genius at work. The depth of Atlas's technical analysis reached new heights as he focused specifically on Inoue's footwork, spending nearly 8 uninterrupted minutes breaking down a single round to illustrate what he called. Atlas highlighted how Inoue would take steps that appeared insignificant to untrained eyes but were actually calculated master strokes. A half-in adjustment here to cut off the ring, a subtle pivot there to create torque for power shots while maintaining perfect balance movements, so efficient they required minimal energy expenditure while yielding maximum tactical advantage, creating what Atlas termed a thermodynamic miracle in boxing terms, where Inoue managed to output devastating offense without ever appearing fatigued or off balance, maintaining what looked like fresh legs even in late rounds. Despite the high-pressure style he employs, this footwork mastery, according to Atlas, forms the invisible foundation upon which Inoue's entire offensive system is built, allowing him to generate concussive power from positions that would leave other fighters vulnerable while simultaneously presenting opponents with constantly shifting defensive puzzles they simply lack the time or spatial awareness to solve mid-combat. Atlas's voice took on an almost reverential tone as he transitioned to discussing Inoue's defensive evolution, spending considerable time comparing footage from the champion's early career to his current form to illustrate what he called the most dramatic defensive improvement I've witnessed in a reigning champion, detailing how Inoue has transformed from a primarily offensive dynamo who would occasionally eat shots to land his own into a defensive savant who makes elite-level opponents miss by fractions of an inch while remaining perfectly positioned to counter. The analyst highlighted Inoue's shoulder roll technique, which he executes with such subtlety and precision that it often goes unnoticed by casual observers, as well as his increasingly sophisticated use of head movement that incorporates micro-adjustments timed to the millisecond, allowing him to slip punches with energy efficiency that would make a NASA engineer envious. What makes these defensive refinements truly remarkable, Atlas stressed, is how seamlessly they're integrated into Inoue's offensive framework, where most fighters must choose between being offensive threats or defensive stalwarts. Inoue has somehow managed to become both simultaneously, creating what Atlas described as a perpetual motion machine of combat effectiveness, where every defensive maneuver flows naturally into offensive opportunities, and every attack is launched from positions of defensive security, a duality that leaves opponents with no safe moments and no viable strategies to employ against him. The discussion of Inoue's punching technique prompted Atlas to rise from his chair invisible. Excitement as he diagrammed the biomechanical perfection behind what appear to be simple power shots but are actually the product of years of meticulous refinement, with Atlas slowing down footage to show how Inoue generates knockout power through perfect kinetic chain sequencing that begins in his toes, travels through his hips, and core, and finally expresses itself through shoulders and arms that serve merely as the delivery system rather than the source of power. Atlas spent several minutes comparing Inoue's mechanics to those of legendary punchers like Mike Tyson and George Foreman, noting how Inoue shares their ability to generate disproportionate power for his size, but does so with significantly more technical precision and far less energy expenditure, allowing him to maintain his punching power deep into fights without the stamina drain that affects most knockout artists. Particularly fascinating was Atlas's breakdown of how Inoue varies his punching technique based on opponent positioning, sometimes throwing arm punches for speed, other times loading up with full body torque, and occasionally using hybrid techniques that blend both approaches, all while maintaining defensive responsibility that prevents counters, a skill set Atlas claims should be physically impossible to execute with such consistency. Yet Inoue makes look routine. Transitioning to strategic analysis, Atlas's commentary took on the quality of a chess grandmaster, explaining a master game as he broke down how Inoue systematically dismantled Cardenas not through brute force alone but through what he termed four-dimensional chess played at light speed, where every punch served multiple purposes, some immediate, some designed to pay dividends rounds later. Atlas highlighted how Inoue would establish patterns, perhaps working the body relentlessly for several rounds, only to suddenly shift his attack the moment Cardenas showed signs of adjustment, creating a psychological